We will be flexible. We will think about ways to be faster and more efficient and more flexible and make products available to people with rare disease. Time, of course, is money, but time is also patient lives. I mean, shaving that amount of time is lives potentially saved from beneficial products entering faster, people with less disability who are living and functioning better. So there's this huge patient need to do it. At FDA, we want what you all want, transformational therapies and cures and major advances. Pediatric and rare diseases are completely neglected and things completely on our radar. But we are also willing and, of course, will strongly consider any step forward. As we understand that progress is not always made in a single leap, and we will consider incremental steps forward because those add up. But Dr. Rangarajan made an additional point, which is that we also need to be receptive to modest step forwards as well. It's not just about cures. Step forwards matter. What it means for a Duchenne's patient to retain functional ability just a little bit further.
I think the example I used is the ability for a young man in a wheelchair to lift his arms and type on a computer. The era we live in today, maintaining that ability enables someone to independently interact with the world, to have a job, to interact with friends in just a fundamentally different way than if he needed help to do those things, and actually have the potential for significantly prolonged quality and quantity of life. And we can't forget about therapies that prolong quality and quantity of life for kids with Duchenne, whether that's being able to climb up the stairs at a playground and join a friend on a slide, or being able to play video games with a group of friends. It's a truly social interaction. We need to be thinking about these quality of life improvements as well and maintaining those for all of the patients that we're talking about.
We are fully committed to being flexible. Diseases that are rare, dire, or unique constellation or patterns cannot have the same paradigm as high blood pressure and high cholesterol. You know, we're going to be flexible based on the condition, the frequency, how dire things are. You know, just as one person can not heed the advice of other people, one person can often be an important person in regulatory history.
At the time, the life expectancy was really 16, mid-teens.
You really have to use your muscles to do that, don't you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, use your body.
Patients in the HOPE-2 trial were the most severely affected patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
The HOPE-2 clinical trial included 18 young men and children, conducted at UC Davis Health and other sites around the U.S. The objective of the trial was to evaluate the safety and effectiveness of stem cell therapy for heart failure caused by the disease. Ultimately, physicians hoped the stem cell therapy would improve heart function and overall quality of life for the patients.
These stem cells are actually derived from human hearts that were destined to be transplanted in human individuals. We actually then use those cardiosphere-derived stem cells in a therapeutic sense to infuse these stem cells intravenously into these children and young men with Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
The stem cells are injected into the bloodstream, where they circulate throughout the body and reach the affected muscles. The cells themselves produce exosomes, which promote muscle fiber regeneration and repair.
The infusion itself is only about an hour and a half long. It's just a simple IV administration.
We were on pins and needles once he actually received the medicine. Every day, you feel different? You feel different? No, Mom, no, I don't. And about a week, 10 days in, he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna feel anything. And I'm like, oh, we just need to hold on a little longer. And on day 12, 13, he woke up. He's like, Mom, I'm different. He knew.
The first thing I noticed was arm control and just my entire feeling of my body. I didn't feel like icky and slow. I had energy again.
The trial results were really spectacular. The patients actually experienced complete stabilization in the deterioration of their heart function. So this definitely will have a huge impact on survival and life expectancy.
Today, at the age of 21, Hunter continues to receive stem cell infusions and routine checkups from Dr. McDonald and his team.
Good. Spread your fingers. Good.
I'm doing really good. I'm considered healthy with Duchenne.
Straighten out your elbow.
I think the stem cells are really doing it for me. They're making me stronger, more agile, more mobile. It's giving me confidence to have a life.
I feel that this has added decades to his life, and I see more and more joy from him and more confidence in who he is. And so that's been a true gift.
The stem cells allowed me to see that I have a future. Now I have something to look forward to.
What we also talked about is someone got up and said, my son is in Capricorn and he gets this bump and then he starts to slide a little bit before his next bump. So he can feel the difference in his body, and then, obviously once he gets the next, he feels better.
Finally, I'm asked about trials versus real-world evidence, and the answer to that is both. We will always have a place for controlled clinical studies, but we will also leverage the incredible promise of real-world data, large evidence, and the methodologic techniques that are being explored in that space.
Thank you, Dr. John Soslow, and all of you in the Cardiac Consortium that have been able to show to the FDA that ejection fraction is actually a really reasonable measure of predicting long-term outcomes in Duchenne muscular dystrophy cardiomyopathy. And so now we have a natural history study against which to benchmark our data and show improvement in cardiac function to potentially sustain not only quantity of life, but quality of life.
The greatest bar we have to overcome is to get our therapies or medications approved by whatever regulatory body. For us, it's the Food and Drug Administration. We need to get across that line. So HOPE-3 is a really powerful study because it capitalizes on everything that we learned in HOPE-2. The open label extension data is a great guidepost of the potential for CAP-1002 in treating Duchenne. Most importantly, it's safe, with the exception of some annoying headaches and a little bit of infusion-related issues. Patients do really well on this. There's been no treatment-related serious adverse events that have slowed anybody down longer than just a little bit post-infusion. That we wanted to see what was happening with their hearts. And what we were able to see is that after 24 months on continuous treatment of CAP-1002, so 8 infusions, 6 out of 9 patients had improvements in ejection fraction. Now guys, people don't have ejection fraction get better in Duchenne muscular dystrophies.
Propensity matching, let's take the exact same potential patients that we are having in the HOPE-2 open label extension study. We've been tracking those guys for more than 5 years. And let's see how the natural history defines the progression. And that's what we show here. And I talked about this briefly in my talk, which is when you look at the published data from John Soslow and the Action Network study, you see an average of 5-point decline in ejection fraction over 24 months in those that have baseline ejection fractions of 57%, which is bordering on the healthy level. And then what you see in the open label extension guys is an improvement in ejection fraction of 1.9% with a delta or change of 6.9 ejection fraction points. Now, even in adult heart disease, even in heart attacks and dilated cardiomyopathies, 5 to 10% improvement in ejection fraction is considered clinically significant. So this is very clinically significant. We did baseline matching, we did age matching, we did cardiac med matching to make sure that we were doing an apples to apples comparison of our treated patients compared to the natural history patients.
We got to get people on CAP-1002, right? Because as you saw in the GAF phase, once those pull points, once muscle is lost, there is no getting it back. So we can attenuate the progression, but once it's gone, it's gone. So delay the disease then by 10 pull points, which is actually hand-to-mouth function, is actually the ability to take a drink of water, push an elevator button, and a variety of other tasks, including my favorite from past, which is the ability to hug a family member.
This is a very unique trial situation because we have patients basically serving as their own controls. These are boys and young men that, were in a placebo group. They were declining, and we've attenuated the rate of decline now by 2/3 or more than 2/3 at 70%.
I'm often asked, are you interested solely in randomized controlled trials, or are you open to other methodologies? And the answer is, we're interested in all of the above. Randomized controlled trials, whether or not people can serve as their own individual controls. We're interested in target trial emulation, inverse probability weighting, some of the more sophisticated epidemiologic study techniques.
Common sense and the gold standard of science, right? I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah.